What's up guys, Philip here, and I am back in the garage. Just wanted to talk to y'all today about my meet and how it went. So this meet happened yesterday. It was a long day. It was 4 flights of 15 lifters each. So the meet took over 9 hours along the full duration of it. Long day guys, and I am feeling beaten up right now. I'm feeling very tired, but I just wanted to share how it went because it was pretty eventful, especially at the beginning. So Premier Fitness in Tupelo, Mississippi, guys, it was packed. Music was blaring. The vibe, the environment was there. I had pounded about half a gallon of Gatorade at that point, eaten a couple of bananas, a pack of Pop-Tarts, drank a protein shake, drank my coffee, drank plenty of water. I mean, I was loaded at this point, getting excited, but I had to wait a little while to lift. So they did the rules meeting at 8 a.m., just explained how everything was gonna run, and then it was off to lifting at 9. And I had to wait until about 10:30 to take my first squat attempt. So in between, I was just kind of getting to know the lifters, getting to know some of the others that were competing, and actually saw a few old friends who showed up to this meet. So that was really cool. I got in with my group pretty quickly and got comfortable now. As it got closer to my first attempt, I had been paying attention to kind of what the judges were calling, how they were calling different things, and depth was a little bit confusing. It seemed like they were calling good depth for some people that looked a little bit questionable. They were calling not good depth for people who were sinking them, different things like that. And I mean, I'm sure they were calling other like ticky-tack things as well. But a few questionable calls, at least ones that kind of got the lifters up in a rile before I went. So with that, it started making me a little bit nervous. I had prepared quite a bit for this competition, but I would be lying to you if I didn't say that made me nervous, being a borderline depth squatter as it was. So warm-ups went through, they felt okay, not like anything special, I would say. But I was practicing my kind of dive bombing strategy. I feel like through my prep, I've reached a better depth when I did that. So I was gonna go with that strategy here, as that's what I've been using the last month or so, or at least practicing. So once it was finally my turn to do my first attempt, I opened up at about 424 pounds, got up to the rack, and was just, I mean, I was so excited. There were so many things going on. I was nervous at that point that my whole body was shaking before I even got under the bar. I almost felt like I couldn't control my body. I was so excited. So got under the weight, and it felt super heavy, super heavy. And I was like, oh crap, I don't know, are kilo plates heavier feeling, or is it just a different environment? What is going on? So got the bar out, took a second, but didn't take long enough, and then kind of dive bombed my first attempt like I had been practicing, and completely misgrooved. So that when I was going up towards the top, it almost turned into a straight up good morning, which put me into the rack. I kind of crashed into the rack and they had to catch it. So obviously not a good squat. And at that point, first attempt of the meet, first attempt of my first meet ever. And I basically face planted into the rack. Was pretty embarrassing. And it left me kind of feeling like, oh crap, what am I gonna do? I mean, I couldn't even control the squat. It almost folded me, and it's my opener. What is going on? So at this point, obviously I was scared to death, but I took a second. I stopped and I thought, man, I'm wearing all of this gear. I've trained all of this time, put in all of this work. I had people come to see me. I've put quite a bit of money into this at this point. They took the time to see me. I've got to figure out something. So at that point, after failing that first squat attempt, I decided to retake it, obviously, because it felt terrible. And so I went for 424 again. It was about 10 minutes until it was my turn to do my second attempt. So I just tried to calm down. I tried to settle down. I tried to just be in the moment and not so pepped up. I also had an awesome guy, RJ, and his girlfriend, I believe girlfriend, were lifting at the time. And he was kind of the de facto facility coach for the day, if you will. He's been through this a bunch. He's an elite level lifter. So he was kind of talking to me throughout this meet, helping me. And he told me, man, just calm down. You got this. Like, that was easy. You just got to calm down. So took a second, calmed down, retook my attempt when the attempt came up, and it was easy. So the difference was, for the second attempt, I wasn't as nervous. I took a second, I went through my cues, I got set up. I took quite a few breaths before I did it, just to find my center of gravity, my baseline, as this was a flat floor and not the graded floor in my garage. So I took a second to really feel my body out, figure it out, and I took my time on the descent. I didn't try to dive bomb it. I knew that wouldn't end well if I tried it again. So I slowed it down and, to my amazement, hit pretty good depth with that slow, methodical approach. Blasted it back up. It was easy, and then got 3 whites for it, so at least a good lift. So at that point, I was like, okay, I got this. So second attempt, I jumped up to 451. I had planned on doing 463 this meet, but just because of how bad the first attempt went, I figured to keep my 1,400-pound goal in mind, I would just make a jump to 451. I felt like that was attainable based on 424 and how it moved, and that would put me in striking distance to get that 1,400 pounds with a good rest of the day. Because I didn't know at that point how bench and deadlift would go based on how the squat was feeling. So 451 took my 10 minutes, and then got up to do it again. Almost did it without my belt latched. I realized at the last moment on the platform, my belt wasn't latched. So promptly latched that, and then set up under the 451, same thing, got the squat command, got my bearings about me, figured out kind of where I was in my gravity, body position, and then took that big breath, wrenched down my lats, and then lowered it till I really couldn't lower it anymore, and then blasted it up. And again, it was relatively easy. So at that point, I knew I had a little bit more than that, but I wasn't mad about it because it put me on track, and it felt comfortable. So now I know, guys, take your time, play your game, within the rules. You do have a 1-minute clock to get started, but play your game and don't rush just because, you're in the moment and there's so many people around you. So we took 451, really closer to 452 out of the squat. Had another about a 3-hour break at that point before I was gonna bench again, just due to all of, still tired, due to all of the flights that were in this meet. So took a little time. Around flight B, I started doing my just shoulder mobility stuff. Flight C, I started actually warming up, and I took my last warm up at 300 pounds about 15-20 minutes before my first attempt. So once my first attempt came up, again, trying to learn from my squats, I decided to just slow it down, play my game, go through my cues, and then let the lifting do the talking. So opened up at 325 pounds, went out there, did exactly what I planned to do. Bench is a very comfortable lift for me. I've done it for a very long time. So 325 was like an opener should be. It moved like a warm up. 3 white lights, I do believe. If I get any of those wrong during this video, Again, it was a lot yesterday, but I know the lift was good, and it felt like a warm-up. So I moved according to plan up to 347 pounds. Had about 15 minutes in between the first and second attempts, which was kind of cool. Again, I'm sorry. But it was really cool because when I'm training on my own, I can't make myself wait that long. So I felt very rested when my second attempt came up. 347, got the lift off, got the start. At that point, the first one, the 325, I was maintaining tension against the bar, but before they gave me the press. But that 347, they had given me a long enough press on the previous attempt that I decided to softly set it on my chest like I typically would, and then just kind of wait for that press to fire off into the bar. And that worked out very well. Kind of sunk the 347 into my chest, waited for that press, and then once I heard press, I just threw it up. Super easy. I wouldn't say super easy, but I mean it flew. So at that point, I knew I was good for my goal of 358 on the day. And so that's what I put in for the next attempt. In hindsight, probably had 2.5 more kilos in me, but 358 put me ahead of where I wanted to be on bench, and I felt reasonably confident. And bench is just a finicky lift for me. I can add just a little bit of weight and it completely changes. So 358 was the third attempt. Got up there, played my game, got the lift off, got the start command. Again, gently rested it on my chest so I wasn't expending energy while waiting for that press command, because it felt like a long time in the moment. And then once I heard that press command, I blasted it off my chest. Got a little sticky towards the middle, but nothing so much that I thought it was going to slow down or stop. I carried it all the way through the bench, and it was easy peasy. So bench, we took 358 out of the bench round and had deadlifts left. Now at this point, I was about 8 pounds behind my squat goal and 3 pounds ahead of my bench goal. So I was about 5 pounds behind my total goal going into deadlift, which meant my last attempt needed to be at least about 591 to get to 1,400 pounds. So same thing as the rest between squat and bench, my rest between bench and deadlift. At that point though, I was so warm that I didn't re-stretch my hips or do any of that. I just waited till flight C and then did my deadlift warm-ups. Now we did deadlift on a Kabuki deadlift bar, and I didn't notice a drastic difference in the whip, at least enough to affect the performance. My lifts felt about the same, but the knurling on it, which is a more aggressive, pointy, sharp, if you will, knurling, was awesome. It was awesome. My Ohio deadlift bar that I've been training with, it is a volcano, an aggressive volcano knurling. And so when it gets really heavy, it doesn't stick into your thumb like that sharp knurling does. It'll kind of roughly rub against your thumb as you hold on to it, and almost friction burn your thumb, and it hurts a ton. So practicing on the Ohio deadlift bar made the Kabuki deadlift bar a breeze to hold on to, because that sharp, pointy knurling, it just stabbed into my thumb and it did not move at all. Once I set my hook grip and pulled onto it, I mean, I could have probably held 500 pounds for 15 minutes, it felt like, at least from when I was holding my last warm-up. So warmed up all the way up to my 495 warm-up, so did 2, 3, 4, and then 5 plates. Warm-ups were in pound plates, by the way. The warm-up area had pound plates. The stage had kilo plates. So warming up on pound plates, 225, 315, 405, 495. And then at that point, it was a waiting game until my first deadlift. Now at this point, the crowd was getting pretty hyped on the deadlift. There was a 19-year-old that was under 200 pounds that pulled over 700 pounds. We had some girls pulling close to 400 pounds. Many people pulling over 600 pounds, which did a lot to actually calm me, because I'm like, I'm just pulling 600, or that's the goal. So warming up, or first attempt for deadlift, was 535 pounds. We went out there, again, played our game, got our hook grip set, got our feet set, waited for that hand to go up for the lift, and then wrenched those, those triceps down, those lats down, back down, and then sat into it and yanked it off the ground with some fury, guys. I mean, it flew up. The 535 was a joke, and it didn't even challenge me in the slightest. Good lift at that point. My guy again, RJ, freaking awesome, 2,000 pound total at 275 class. He was like, man, 600 is there. It's not even a question. And that's kind of how I was feeling too. So after that, still wanted to play my game. Second attempt, we went for 573.2. Same thing, took about 10-15 minutes, and then went out there for 573. Smoked it, no problem whatsoever. And at that point, I pulled 573 and felt how it felt. I knew 600 was there. It was just a matter of waiting to do my attempt. So took about 10-15 minutes, just tried to calm my head, tried to not get too excited in the moment, because I didn't want to get so excited and just feel like I had it so much that I took it for granted. So took a second, calmed down, took it in the moment, said you need to focus. And once my third attempt was called, once I was called up to the platform for 600.8, 600.86, whatever it is, 601, whatever it is, got up there, set my hook grip, made sure it was set. My belt was sitting a little funny on my abdomen when I was setting up for the 600 pounds. So I moved it, adjusted it a couple of times. I mean, it still didn't feel perfect, but I was like, I'm already in here in the moment. And I had a clock. So I set my hook grip and made sure it was secured. Wrenched down those triceps, wrenched down my lats and my back. Everything was set. And then I sat into it and just exploded off the floor. And honestly, I mean, it was a little tough at first, but it felt like one of my heavy warm-ups that I would take in training. It moved and it didn't slow down towards once it got going, it didn't slow down towards it got towards the top until it got towards the top. Geez, words are hard. And I held it a little bit longer just to assert my grip dominance on it and show that I was in no danger of dropping that weight at that point. So I was one of the very few conventional pullers at this meet. So 600 pounds conventional, very in a meet with 3 white lights, man. So happy, so happy with that. And I ended up finishing with about, I think it was like 14:10.96 if I remember correctly. It was over 1,400 pounds between the 3 lifts, and just accomplished everything that I wanted to. So we went 8 for 9. The only miss was the very first attempt of my very first meet, which went disastrously, but we were able to mentally regroup and just crush it throughout the rest of the meet. And honestly, I'm more proud of myself doing it that way than I would be if I went 9 for 9, because just fighting through that early adversity and that mental struggle in the moment, it's very hard, guys. I mean, it's one of those things, and unless you are in that moment of a powerlifting meet and you do that, you don't really understand what kind of quandary that puts you in. So we weathered it. We kept our mind on the prize, and we accomplished our goal. And it was good enough to win second place in my weight class for full power, and then second place in my weight class for push-pull. So we did get 2 second places. The guys in front of me were out of reach. It wasn't really a battle. It was a case of, you know, who showed up, and there were just 2 guys that showed up that were out of my league for today. But that is fine. Again, we accomplished our main goal. We got some medals. We are a power lifter officially. So if y'all have any questions, I will be doing what I learned from this meet, because I learned a lot just partaking in the meet, things that I would have never thought about had I not experienced them. So I will be doing that. But if y'all have any questions about the meet and how it went in general, please do feel free to drop a comment down in the comment section below. I'd be happy to answer many questions I had regarding this meet. But it was awesome, guys, and I appreciate y'all. Again, everybody who's given me the support that they have, the words of encouragement and the well wishes, I certainly appreciate y'all. Y'all are the best, and I do factor y'all in for this performance and its success. So I appreciate y'all, and I will catch y'all later.